This video is a beginner's crash course on AI agents in n8n. What we're going to be doing today is building out two scenarios. The first is going to be incredibly simple. You'll probably get this up and running within literally 5 minutes from now. In this AI agent, we create a chatbot where we essentially can ask it questions like, let's say, math questions. So for example, what is 45 times 3? And it's going to use its reasoning to ask the calculator what that response is. It'll give you the response back. We can also connect that into things like Wikipedia and whatever else that you want to connect this into. The next chatbot is going to be a little bit more advanced. This is not going to take too much more time to build out, but it's going to be really, really cool. It's going to be the foundation of you building any bots on top of it. Essentially, we're using Telegram to send messages. So I'm going to say, please create a calendar event for me today at 5 p.m. to cook. And what's going to happen is this chatbot's going to start. It's going to use its reasoning to understand what task it is that you're looking for it to do. It's going to create that calendar invite. We can take a look at my calendar here just to see that in fact it has been added to the calendar. And then we're also going to go ahead and log any added or changed calendar events over time to our particular log in Google Sheets here. All of these blueprints are going to be for free in the description down below. All you have to do is come in and import them into your account. You can just hit these three dots here and import from file, and then you'll have these in your accounts. I highly recommend you guys actually following along with me in this video, downloading the blueprints and working with me on the scenario, because that's going to be the fastest way for you to learn. With that being said, let's get into it right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new scenario in n8n. If you guys haven't done so already, you can go ahead and sign up for a free account. You get a 14-day free trial. And once you're inside, we're going to create a workflow here. Okay. And the first step that we're going to do is we're just going to hit that massive unavoidable add first step in the middle there. And we're going to go over and we can see there's a lot of different triggers here. Now, some are easy, some are complex, but we're just going to start off like super basic here just for your first AI agent so that you can feel like you get a massive win, like literally in a few minutes here and get something up and running. We're going to choose on chat message. And essentially what this is doing is it's just like an internal message in n8n that you can use to essentially power your automations. So that's all we're going to do. This actually looks good to me. You can hit the escape button or just click outside of it, and then we're good to go. And now we can start messaging in this chatbot, right? I'm actually just going to reset this session and we're good to go. I can just say, hey here. And essentially nothing's going to happen because nothing's hooked up yet, right? The next step that we want to do is actually come in here and create that AI agent. So we're going to type at the top here, AI agent, okay? And essentially, more or less, this also looks good to me here. We're not going to touch this right now, but just to come in here and explain what's going on. So on the left-hand side, you have the input field. You can see the message that we just sent, which is, hey. You see the session ID and the action, which is send message. The right-hand side is the output. This is what's going to happen when this task is executed in the AI agent. And in the center, you have the settings here, right? So how do we want to set this up? And we can go into the AI agents tab here. There's a lot of different things that we can use here, but essentially we want to use tools agents. And what this means is that we're going to attach multiple tools. Like we'll attach a calculator, we'll attach Wikipedia to this so that we can do some research on Wikipedia or we can do some calculations. And what's going on in the back end is that we're going to ask this AI agent to pick the right tool to use, right? So there's multiple tools, and you can think about like building a house. You might need a screwdriver or you might need a hammer, and you're asking like, hey, for this particular project, I have a screw. What should I be using? Should I be using the screwdriver or the hammer? It's going to pick the screwdriver for you, right? So we're going to go ahead and choose tools agent here, and that's pretty much good to go. And you'll see that there's three options here. We have chat model, we have memory, and we have tool, and we're going to have to connect all of these in together. Now, the first thing that I want to start with is essentially the chat model. We'll go left to right here. So we'll hit plus here. And essentially, it's just asking you to attach a large language model. You can use any of these, whichever you're most comfortable with. So you could use like Anthropic, but for me, I like using OpenAI. I use it in most of my videos. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose that. And right away, this is pretty much good to go. If you guys are brand new to n8n, you will need to connect an account. So it says credentials to connect with, and all you have to do is click create new credentials, okay? And you need an API key. Now this is pretty straightforward to get. You can just open up a new tab and you can go platform OpenAI in Google. And it should be the first result here that we're gonna click into. And you'll have to log in. And once you're logged in, I just am already, you can click dashboard here and go to APIs. And then you'll just create an API key, and I could call this like test n8n, and then create secret key, and just copy this and paste it back into the API key section here. And we're essentially good to go. The only other thing that I recommend here is actually setting a budget on this, because if you don't, you're not gonna be able to use it. So you need to head over to the profile section here and just click profile, billing, and then just add credits. I think the minimum is $5 that you can add. And once you do that, then you're pretty much good to go, and you can start using ChatGPT in n8n immediately. So I'm going to close out of that because I've already connected my account in here. And the model that you can choose, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use 4.0 Mini, the default one here, just because it's a bit cheaper than some of the other models in here. And this is pretty good for the questions that we're going to be asking in the first AI agent that we build out. It's going to be rather simple. You'll see that it still has that error message here. That's going to go away in a couple seconds. So we can just forget that. And then the next thing is the memory. So just before we move on, this model here, this is like the reasoning behind it. This is like the brain in the AI agent. We're saying, hey, like, how are we going to think? How are we going to process and understand the questions and understand, what to actually do? And that's where the chat model comes in, because this is going to be figuring out what tools to use, how to respond back to somebody, how to interpret the messages, all of that kind of stuff, right? So that's why having the chat model there is important. The next thing is the memory. So with memory, there's a couple options here. We're going to choose the first one. You can see, and it made it easy for us. They just did like in brackets, like easiest. But yeah, it's just super simple to plug and play. What this does is it just means that, like, if I'm going to continue messaging it, it will remember my previous messages. So like if you go into ChatGPT and you ask a follow-up question, it has the context of the original question you asked. Same kind of deal here. You really don't have to do anything. We can just click off this and we're good to go, right? And so this is going to be able to give us memory. So if I say, hey, how's it going? Or hey, what is the capital city of, let's just say, Ontario? It's going to go ahead and see it, right? And now here's where the memory comes in. If we had no memory here, we could be like, what's the temperature? What's the average temperature there? If there's no memory, it would be like, what city are you talking about? I don't know what city you're talking about. But because we have a memory window buffer memory here, it's actually going to remember that I asked what was the capital. It's going to remember the response, and now it's going to be able to answer this appropriately, right? So now it's going to give me an answer based on the temperature in Toronto, right? Now we can change this up, like it can be a context window of 5 or 10 or whatever, but I would just recommend sticking to 5 for now, and that looks pretty good to me, right? So those are the two. Now we've like secured two things in this AI agent. Let's just move on to where all the magic happens, which is the tool section. Now with this tool section, you can add whatever it is you want. Because this is just our first example, we're going to keep it kind of nice and easy. And let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing that I want to add in here is a calculator. Okay, and so with this calculator, what we're doing is we're just giving it access to do math equations. Cool thing about this is that, again, there's no real setup. This is just plug and play out of the box. It's going to work immediately. So we can go ahead and ask it some math questions. So oops, I'm not going to yell at it with all caps. What is 54 divided by 42.3? And you can see that it's going to check off the calculator, which means that it has used it, and it will give us the exact response back, which is 1.28. Now we can add in another tool here, which could be Wikipedia, for example. And using Wikipedia, we can ask it to search specific pages on Wikipedia. Again, this is plug and play, so there is literally nothing that we have to do to set this up. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And now we can ask a specific question related to Wikipedia. So the next question would be, what is the diameter of the moon according to Wikipedia? And now it's going to figure out what tool We used Wikipedia this time, but not the calculator, and then it gave us a response back. And it said the search did not return specific information about the diameter of the moon. However, the average diameter of the moon is approximately 3,474 kilometers. Okay, perfect. So we could also take it a step further and now leverage both tools at the same time instead of just one or the other. And we can say, what is the size of the sun divided by 54. And let's take a look and see what it says here. Okay, so it says, and we can see, actually, looks like it didn't even pull in the calculator for this. We can go ahead and say, let's first read it. The search did not provide a specific numerical value for the size of the sun. However, the average diameter of the sun is approximately this many kilometers. Now divide that by 54, and then it gives us this many kilometers. So the average sun is divided by, okay, so it gave us the answer there. Just using the AI model here, it was good enough to reason and come up with an answer all by itself. But in essence, this is kind of how AI agents work. It would, first of all, we'd type in the message up here. It would send it to the AI agent. It would pull in the memory of the previous context window. So like the previous messages in the past, it can see 5 messages back up pretty much at the beginning here. And then it's going to send that to the model. The model is going to be like, hey, what's going on here? What's the input? What are they looking to do? So it's going to read this, and then it's going to have the context window of everything else above it. And then it's going to have to send that back to the AI agent to decide, hey, what are we doing here? Like, are we sending this to the calculator? Are we sending this to Wikipedia? And because of what we said here, it first searched for the diameter of the sun on Wikipedia, and then it brought that back, and it's like, hey, okay, we have the diameter of the sun, and we now need to accomplish the second task, which is calculation. In this case, it just bypassed it because it had the logic to do it in the first place, but it would have sent it back to the AI agent to then calculate the diameter of the sun that it received from Wikipedia and then give you the answer backwards, right? So that's essentially more or less how AI agents work. And you have officially created the first AI agent of your life. Hopefully the first of very many. Okay, so that sounds good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna save this scenario now. And we're good to go. I'm gonna title this AI agent number 1. And that looks good. Oops, we need to actually add the number 1 there. Okay, perfect. Sweet. So we're good to go. The next thing that I want to do is create another AI agent. This one's going to be a bit more complicated, and there's 2 parts to this. The first part is that we want to actually attach it to a messaging platform that is not natively stored in n8n. So for example, we probably don't want to have to come into n8n every single time to chat with it. Instead, we'd rather chat with it on something like Telegram or something like Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or Twilio for native like SMS or text messages, all that kind of stuff. I chose Telegram in this particular example, so we're just going to use that. And the second part of this is, the first part is just grabbing that message, and whether it's a particular text or an audio file, we're going to transcribe it. And then we're going to grab that message, send it to the AI agent, and then understand what it is that we're trying to do, right? So we can either get events, create events, update events, and then we're going to log those events one by one to the Google Sheet. And you can see here, there's a nice breadth of things, especially too in the Google Calendar module. You can not only find, create, and update. You could also delete events in here as well. So it gives you a lot of different options in here. So let's go ahead and build this out. First things first, we're going to go back to the personal folder and create another workflow. Okay, awesome. And then the second massive unavoidable, I don't think I can zoom in any further. Actually, I take that back. I definitely can. We're going to go ahead and choose this. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a trigger from Telegram. If you guys remember this one right here, and that is located in the on app events. So we can go in here and search up Telegram, and we'll select that. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select on message. So essentially the trigger here, what starts this workflow, is an on message. So when we receive a message from Telegram, then this workflow will start. The AI agent will do what it needs to do. Now, the first thing is that we actually need to create credentials for Telegram, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create new credentials here. and we need an access token. And so how we get an access token is by literally just hitting the open docs here. It's going to give us the exact details that we need to do in order to get an access token from Telegram. And really what we need to do here is just start a chat with what they call the bot father of Telegram. So we'll open this up, and this looks good to me. I'm going to open the app up here, and now it's just going to give me some instructions on, what to do. And I'm just going to circle back here to what it says. And it's just saying, hey, first start the chat. Second, enter in the command new bot. So I'm going to go ahead and do this here. And if we see, it says we need a name and we also need a username. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to call this test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that looks good. And then we'll go ahead and choose a username, which I'm actually going to copy this and do the same thing here. Okay, perfect. So now that has been completed, it's going to give us this API code here. And all we need to do is copy that and then come back into this part here and paste that access token in. And then we can save it and we're good to go. You'll know it's completed when it goes green here. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much it for this. We can move on to the next step here, which is, first of all, just testing this trigger to make sure that we're receiving information from it. So I'm going to go ahead and test this, and it's just waiting for a message to come in. So I'm going to circle back to Telegram here, and let's just see here. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and start a conversation, and I'm going to say, hey, right? And awesome. So we're going to open this up, and we can see that we have received a message already. And it just by default started with the message /start. So we're good to go there. Now, the next thing is that we need to decide whether or not this is a text message or if this is an audio message. And so how we do that is by creating a flow statement here. Actually, hold on 1 second. Yeah, we're going to choose an if statement. So it's like if this, then or else that, right? So if it contains an audio message, go down the audio message path. If it doesn't contain an audio message, then go down the text path. So let's get this set up. The first thing I want to do is just actually exit out of that and test the workflow again. I'm going to open up, I'm going to test this and open up Telegram and just send over an audio message. This is a test. Okay, sweet. So we can see here that we did in fact receive like an audio file here, and here's the ID and all that kind of stuff. So we can circle back to this if statement, and all we need to do is just enter in a value here, and that value is going to be voice here. So I'm going to enter in, I'm just dragging this over into there, and it says like in curly brackets like $JSON.message.voice. That is essentially just this right here, right? This is like a nicer way of seeing this message. It's more like a coding way of seeing the same thing. And all we need to do here is just come down to object and exists, because technically this is an object. You can see the data type. So like this is a number, this is text by the A field number, and then this is called an object, which is just like a assortment of different information, right? So you have like a voice message, which has the duration in minutes or the type of file it is and the file ID and the file size and all that kind of stuff. We're just checking to see if that audio message actually exists, which it would only exist if we actually sent over an audio message. And so that's pretty much it. We just have one condition. Does that exist? It's going to go down path A if it does. And if it doesn't, then it's going to go down the other path. So we can go ahead and deal with this audio message first. And essentially all we want to do is go back to Telegram, and we're going to download this message. So we're going to get a file here, and the file ID we need to enter in here, right? This all we can keep the same. Nothing really needs to be changed there. And all we need to do is just grab the file ID, and you can see it down here, right? So voice and then file ID. So we're going to copy this, drag it over, and just paste it right in there. And then we are good to go. This is going to get that file. And next, what I want to do is I want to turn that file, because right now we're just grabbing a file. I actually want to turn that into text, right? Because in order to process that message properly, we need to make sure that it's not in an audio format, but it's in a text format. And so how we're going to do that is by going into OpenAI here. And we're going to go ahead and transcribe. So I'm just going to search for transcribe a recording, and we're going to choose this one right here. And circling back in here, the account's already good to go. We've already set this up, so it's the same one as before. And yeah, all we need to actually do here is, I don't even think we need to do anything. It should work out of the box. It's just going to transcribe the previous recording that we received. So that looks good to me. Okay, sweet. So we can give this a shot. We'll test this out, and we're going to load in another message here. This is a test. Okay, let's see the output here. I'm going to double tap this. We can see that the text came back as this is a test. So that's awesome. Just one last thing here is that if, for example, we're not sending an audio message, maybe it's a text message, we want to be able to accept either message, right? Whether it's audio, whether it's text. How we do this is in this other field here. Actually, in both, we're going to do data transformation, and we're going to edit a field here. And all we're doing is we're just setting a particular value for a field called text. And let me explain why. So I'll just enter in text here, and we actually don't have any data here. But essentially, we need the output for both of these to be the exact same. So they need to have the same key here, which is text, because if one had text and the other one had like message, then if you search for message, then you're not going to find text. If you search for text, then you're not going to find message. So it's going to draw errors. So all we need to do here is just essentially connect these in together. So I'll go data transformation again here, and we're going to add a field. The name is going to be text, and the value, if I just pull in schema here, the value is going to be here, right? And so that looks good. We're all set on this side, and we can just run this test one more time, but this time as a message and not like a audio file. So I'm going to say test number 2. And now it's come down this side of the path here. And the value here that we're going to place is the value that we got of the message we typed in, which is test 2. So we'll go ahead, drag that over, and this is all set up. And you can see that the key here is test, but the key as well up here is also test, right? And so why that matters is because we're going to merge these fields together. So no matter where the data is coming from, whether it's an audio file or a text file, it's going to be good to go, right? So we can merge these in, and it's going to give us the exact same format. I'll go ahead and click save here, and we'll just run this test one more time just to verify that everything is in fact working. So I'll just say test 1, 2, 3 again. And we can see that the text here is test. And if I were to test this one more time and do an audio file, I'm going to say, hey, this is a test. Now it's going through the other path, transcribing it, and it's still the same text key that we can use for the AI agent, right? And so the next field here is AI agent. This, again, has to take the correct key here, and that is going to go into this, this prompt message here. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the agents as the same. It's going to be a tools agent, and we just need to choose the right source for the prompt. And right now it's on like a default setting here for connected chat trigger node. And we need to define below, because right now we replaced, if you guys remember the first example, we used that chat trigger. We've replaced that with Telegram. So we need to say, hey, this isn't the initial chat trigger that, is just default. We're actually using something else. So we're going to choose define below, and we're going to pull in this text field from the merge category. And so now it doesn't matter whether we send an audio file or we send a text file, it's still going to be the same message coming into that AI agent for us to use. Just like we did before, what we're going to do is we're going to add in that chat model here. I'm going to use ChatGPT again, and 4.0 mini looks good to me. This is pretty much plug and play, nothing that we have to do there. Then with the memory, we're going to do the exact same thing with the window buffer memory. And again, we're just going to keep it at context window length 5. If you want to change this to 10, we can do that as well. I'm just going to keep it at 5 here. And we're going to move this over. And then essentially we just have the particular tools here. So first things first, I just want to actually run this through so that we can get some data. And then we can set up the second part of this. So I'm going to send some data. this is a test, okay? And we can see that we did receive an error here. And that is because we didn't set this up properly. So this window buffer memory is again connected to the chat trigger node, and we just need to define this below. And so we need to enter in a key here. And that key is going to be coming from the particular Telegram node down here. So we see this chat ID. We're going to just drag that in here. And so we just need to copy in the ID of the chat that we had from Telegram, and then this should work. So we'll go ahead and we'll now give this a shot. We're going to test it one more time and come back in here and run this again. So everything looks good so far. Now, just before we create the tool section where we're like connecting in a Google Calendar or we're connecting in Google Sheets and all that kind of stuff, let's just make sure that we actually have a message sending back to the Telegram chat here so that we can actually receive these messages. So on the other side, so we've done the inputs here, we're receiving messages, whether it's audio or whether it's text, and we just want to send that back to Telegram. So we'll search up Telegram here, and we can search again, send a message. Send a text message. Perfect. And really all we need to do is just send the text message. You can see the output here from the AI agent. And so that agent is outputting a response. And now we're just placing it there. And that looks good to me. We can alternatively just put in the chat ID as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move that chat ID here. And let's try this one more time. And just make sure that, in fact, we're getting a message back in Telegram. Test again. It's going to go through. And now we're receiving messages back. So test again, successful. Let me know how I can help you. That is very nice of you, chatbot. Thank you very much for telling me that y'all helped me out. Okay, perfect. So this looks good. The only thing in here is you probably don't want to say this message was sent automatically with n8n. And how we remove that is just coming back in here and adding a field, and it says append n8n attribution. We just turn this off. What this is essentially saying is, hey, we don't want every single message for the history of this entire chatbot to always say indefinitely sent by n8n, because obviously that's a big pain in the ass. So we're going to go ahead and remove that, and we're good to go. Sweet. So the next thing that we need to do here is twofold. We need to set up the tools. So we're like finding calendar events, creating calendar events, updating calendar events. We also need to create a nice prompt for this AI agent in here so that we tell it exactly how to respond to certain types of situations. And so what we'll do is we'll just start off really basic, and we're just going to create a Google Calendar invite. So we'll type in Google Calendar here, and this, we can see all the data being mapped in from the left-hand side here. And this looks pretty well good to me. You'll have to connect your client credentials up at the top here. This should be pretty straightforward. All you have to do is hit the massive sign in with Google button, and then you're good to go. And I'm going to close this. And then essentially from here, once you've signed into your Google account, then we can see that we're going to choose events here. We're going to create an event, okay? And there's a lot of different options here. We'll be leveraging this in the future, like get an event or create or update or whatnot, right? And so they also have a list of where do you want to receive these events from. I just created a test calendar here, AI agent. And so if you look at my calendar here, you can see, for example, that it created that test calendar invite for cooking at 5 p.m. today, right? And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to create events here. The next step that I want to do is I want to create a start time and an end time. And so right now it's just saying, hey, like the second that this workflow runs, that is when the chatbot, or that's when the AI agent is going to start the event, right? So if it's 12:58 for me, it's just going to say the start time is 12:58, which is not ideal. We want to be able to message in Telegram saying, hey, let's start it at 4 p.m. and then it picks up at 4 p.m. when the event should start, right? So this is going to be dynamic instead of static. And so how we're going to do this now is we're going to make sure that it's flipped over to expression. And this might seem a bit confusing at the beginning, but at the end of the tutorial, you should get the hang of it. All we have to do is hit these double slashes here, or these curly braces. And now we have access to all these functions by n8n, right? So they have a lot of different cool options here, but realistically, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna use the exact same option, like literally every single time for the rest of this tutorial. So you hit the $ here, and you're gonna choose from AI. And this takes 2 different parameters in here. We're gonna walk through this slowly. Key and description. And I guess it takes in 4, but we're just gonna use 2. So the key is essentially saying like, what are you looking for? So the key could be like start time, or if we're looking for the end time, it'd be end time, or if we're looking for the ID of the calendar invite, it'd be calendar ID, right? And so we can choose that, and then a description is just describing what the key actually is. So let's go ahead and choose this, and I'm just gonna put in here quotation marks. You can see that it's giving an error here because we haven't finished this yet. And in these quotation marks, I'm just gonna put in start time. So this is kind of the key that we're giving, and it's going to try and find this data for us based on the key. And we'll have the description. This is the start time of the event. Okay, awesome. Now it's gone to gray because it cannot find the start time in any of these fields here, right? So like if I put in something else, for example, if I just like dropped in the output here, then I guess it would be red because this is actually coming later. But if we dropped in like the ID here, for example, it would be green because this is a step that happened before getting to this Google Calendar invite, and it can find it on the sidebar here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna delete that. And when we run the data, this will come in again. Next step is that I want to create an end time as well. And so we're gonna literally just copy this, and we're gonna do the exact same thing for the end time. We're gonna delete, you could do like now plus 1 hour, but just to make it a bit more bulletproof, I'd rather just have like end time as its own thing, because maybe you're creating like a cooking event and that's like 2 hours, and then you're doing like a meditation thing that's like 15 minutes or whatever. And so you just want to have the flexibility to be able to choose the duration. So I'm going to say this is the end time of the event, and that looks good to me. We can add in tons of other things in here. We could add in lots of things. I'm just going to choose summary for now. This is going to be like the title of it. And again, I'm just going to let AI decide for me what that title is. So I'm going to say summary. And then I'm going to say this is the summary. Oops, I made a spelling mistake here, of the event. And I'm going to say summary / title of the event. And then that all makes sense to me. Now all we have to do is just test this out, and it should work right away. So I'm going to wait for a trigger here. Let's do an audio message. Hey, can you please create an event for me at 4 p.m. for cooking? And so that is now coming in, it's being transcribed, and we have gone ahead and created the calendar event, and now it's coming up with a response, and it's going to send us that response back. I've created the cooking event for you here. Here are the details. You can review the calendar link here, which is awesome. I'm just going to go ahead and take a look, and we can see that it's not actually on the calendar anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to see the start time and end time. So it essentially said 2023 here. Now, obviously, we're in 2025. Actually, you can't see that here, but yeah, anyways, we're in 2025, February 8th. So I don't want to be creating a freaking calendar event like literally 2 years ago. That's so stupid. But for AI agents, a lot of the times it just doesn't know the time frame or the time window. So you actually have to tell it what the time frame and the time window is. So we're going to open up this AI agent again in here. And in here, in the text, I want to provide, in the system message, I want to provide additional information, and we're going to be building on top of this as we go. But one of the things is the exact date today is, and then colon, and then we can hit these brackets again. Actually, it has to be an expression. We'll hit the brackets again. We'll hit the $ and now, right? And so you can see that when we put now in here, it's like literally going to say it's 2025 at this time, right? So now we're giving this AI agent the knowledge of when exactly it is right now. So we can go ahead and we can try this out one more time. Can you please create a cooking event for me at 3 p.m. today? And we're going to go through. And again, it's going to take the response, understand it, send it to the first AI agent, and then deliver it, send it back, and here we go, right? So now we're saying February 8th, 2025. So that should be good to go. And we can see here that it has put this in. And obviously I screwed up somewhere, the title here, right? So let's go back and change that. What I suspect happened here is that if we circle into this section here, it's probably the slash. No, it's not that slash. So there's probably just some spelling mistake here. And we'll try that again. Summary, this is the summary of the event. Oh gosh, yeah, because I put fixed. And so when you put fixed, you're just literally entering it as a string of text. And instead, you need to enter it in as an expression, which is actually going to run some code on n8n to give you the exact value that you're looking for. So that's great. That's a good first step. The second thing is like, before we actually book an event, I want to make sure that I'm not double booking myself, right? And so that's where the next step comes in, where we can add another AI agent. And this is going to be Google Calendar again. And this time, what we're going to do is we're going to change this from create to get many. So this is going to search the calendar, right? And so from here, or let me just see. Yeah, so we're going to choose get many. And I just want to be able to search and find what my availability is like, right? And so I'm going to, again, choose after now and before. Both of these are going to be expressions, same kind of deal. I'm just going to choose from AI, and it's just going to tell me after. Give me the time frame to look for this event after a certain period of time, like today. And then again, same kind of deal with the next step, which is before. And I'm going to say before here, give me the time frame to look for this event before a certain time period, like next week. And we'll see how this comes up with responses. And more or less, I'm just going to take a look at, 50 events for now. And I want to make sure that I'm searching for, of course, the right list, because if I look at the wrong calendar list, that's obviously not going to be very helpful to me. So that looks good to me. This is going to go ahead and search for everything. And all I want to do from here on out is save this. And I'm just going to enter in to this particular system message. And we're going to be building this over time. So I'm going to type in instructions. And I'm going to put in, and I'm going to zoom this in just a bit so you guys can see this. So instructions number 1, always look for the availability on my calendar before booking an appointment, right? And so that's step number 1. And we can just go ahead and save that, and that's good to go. So now what we can do is we can get all the calendar events, we can create a calendar event, but ultimately speaking, the last step that I want to do here is I want to be able to update calendar events as well. So I'm going to add one more tool in here. This is going to be Google Calendar. And in this particular tool, this is going to be very similar, but instead this time we're going to update an event. We're going to choose the right calendar to look and update events on. And there's a couple things that we need. First of all, we need an event ID. Again, this can be just handled by an expression, same expression as always, which is double curly braces, $ from AI. Thank you, n8n, for just like literally making my life so easy. And this is going to be event ID here. Just make sure that like you can't put spaces or special or anything like that. Just make sure that there's no spaces in here, else it'll throw an error. And the second thing is we're just going to describe what event ID is. This is the ID of the event. Okay, perfect. And really we can update anything it is that we want about this event, but all I'm going to do is I'm going to update the start time, and I'm just going to update the end time just to keep things simple. And again, this can be both of these are going to be expressions, and I'm just going to copy this down, paste it in. This is going to be end time. This is the end time of the event. And then same kind of deal with this is an expression. And I'm going to choose this as, start time. And this is the start time of the event. That looks good to me. And right now there is a bug going on with n8n. So for whatever reason, like I just can't save this. So unfortunately I have to refresh the page, and I probably lost a bit of saved work here. Let's take a look. It did look like this saved. Okay, cool. So we're good to go. And we have everything saved. It just froze, and no matter where I clicked, nothing happened. And so that looks good to me. Now what we can do is we can give this a shot and test this out. The only other thing that I want to do just before we do that is I want to change this particular prompt here. And just to save you guys time, I've already created this, and this will be in the blueprints if you guys decide to download it. And we'll just take a look at this together. It's essentially saying you're a highly efficient AI assistant designed to manage calendar events and ensure seamless communication with attendees. You could do this if you wanted to, but I'm just going to delete this for now. Today's date is this. Your primary functions: searching, creating, and updating events. Create and update rows in Google Sheets with calendar titles, descriptions, IDs, lengths. This is something we're going to do later on. And then you always want to search first rather than just like creating or whatever. Then number 4 is no duplicates. Number 5, searching relative to dates. Number 6 is automated Google Sheets notifications. So when something's created or when something's updated, you just want to automatically send them to the Google Sheets. Again, this is something we'll create in a couple seconds here, or minutes. And do not create new calendar events. So sometimes, if you don't word it properly and you already have a calendar event, you're like, hey, I want to update this or change this or fix this or whatever. It might just go ahead and create a new calendar event, which is obviously not ideal. You'd rather have it update the existing calendar event that you've already created. So we're just coming in here and prompting this properly to make sure that that's the case. And if there's no time provided for the calendar invite, please assume it's 1 hour in length. Number 9 here is if searching, display matched events or indicate that none were found. If creating, confirm the event details. And so this is just a few more housekeeping rules. So we can just type in rules here and so on and so forth. So this looks good. Again, it's going to be in the description and of this video or in the blueprints, and that looks good to me. We'll click save and we can quickly test this out. So we'll say, hey, can you please schedule a boxing event for me today after 4 p.m.? And so what's going to happen here is it's going to check my calendar event. It's going to see, that you already have a cooking event scheduled at 5 to 6, which overlaps at the same time at 4 p.m. when you're looking to schedule an event. Would you like to move the cooking event or adjust the time for the boxing event? Hey, can you please schedule the boxing event after the cooking event? Oops, and then we're going to test this workflow. And now it's going through. And now it's scheduled. It's now created that calendar event for us. And it looks like it's been a success. So we're now checking for other events on our calendar and making sure that there's nothing that's going to overlap. So that looks pretty awesome to me. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. And so we've now created this. And let's say that I go back and I want to update that event. I can simply just say, hey, I made a mistake. Can you actually push that calendar event for the boxing event back an hour? And we'll test this workflow and see if this calendar event worked. Okay, it's finding the calendar event and now it's updating it, and it should give us a response back. And now instead of it starting at 6 p.m., it's starting at 7 p.m. And so if we go back in here, now this has changed to 7 p.m. And this is just like kind of like scratching the surface. It's like the tip of the iceberg as to what you can do with these AI agents, right? They're working autonomously where, it's trying to figure out what tool to use. So in this instance, we didn't create anything because we weren't looking to create something. We're just looking to update something. So first we said, hey, you have to search to make sure that you actually find the right event. And then once you find the right event, then you're going to go ahead and actually update that existing event, right? And so that's great, but we can do more than just working with Google Calendar. There's tons of other things. Because this is just an introduction course to AI agents in n8n, I'm only going to work with really simple tools that are like free to get started. And so what we're going to do next is Google Sheets. And again, if you guys are probably going to have to create credentials here, so we'll just sign in. quickly, and we should have access. And we'll click continue here. Okay, perfect. So we've gone ahead and we've given ourselves access. We can see that the account has been connected, and we're going to go back. And essentially that brings us to the second part here, which is I want to log these particular events here, right? I just want to get like a good overview. Maybe I'm like looking at my schedule. I want to track my time. I want to see how efficient I am, how much time I'm spending in meetings, or how much time I'm spending doing certain activities throughout the week, so that I can like prioritize my schedule a bit better. You can do that. And so in Google Sheets, what we're going to do is we've connected in the right account, and we're going to set automatically. And we're going to choose a sheet within a document, and the operation is going to be append or update. And why this is cool is because instead of being like, hey, I have to create two tasks, one to create or one to update, this is just merged into one. So you can create or you can update simultaneously depending on if that exists. So we're going to choose append or update row. And again, we're going to choose from a list, and I'm just going to do like log events here. And the sheet I'm going to choose is sheet number 1. And this sheet number 1 is just simply right here, right? So if we created new tabs, then it would log those tabs as well for us to choose from. Okay, perfect. So this is shaping up quite well. We have all these values, and I'll also include this Google Sheet in here as well if you guys want to copy this. But yeah, it's just simply like date, time, start time, end time, description, length, and ID. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to map these out. So really similarly to before, I just want to create these as all expressions, first of all, just before I forget to do that. And we're just going to use pretty much the exact same thing as always, double quotes, $, and from AI. And we're just going to choose the key here. So this is going to be date. And I'll just say, this is the date of the calendar event. And we can just copy this down. I'm just going to start from the bottom. ID, this is the ID of the calendar event. And we'll do length. This is the length in hours of the calendar event. Description, which I don't think we added in here, but you could add in additional things in here. But right now we haven't even created a description, so this will come up empty. This is the description of the calendar event. End time. End time, this is the end time of the calendar event, and then start time. Sweet. This is the start time of the calendar event. And then lastly, title. Oops, summary. This is the summary of the calendar event. Okay, sweet. So we've got all of this in here. The only thing that we need to do is just make sure that there's a column to match on. So essentially, when you're updating a Google Sheet row, if you have values like A, B, and C here, if you're trying to update B, you need to know how to update that. And so it has to find a particular value, and that's where this ID comes in, right? So every calendar will have an ID that's going to be unique. And so actually, if I just kind of bring that back here, these are all going to have like different IDs, right? And so we're going to find that unique ID and then update it if it already exists. If it doesn't exist and we're creating it for the first time, then we're just going to add that to this Google Sheet, right? So it's either create or update. So let's go ahead and let's choose the ID of the section here. And now this has been brought up to the top. So it just says ID using match. And so it's going to find that ID and then it's going to match that ID. So either update it if it's already existing in the Google Sheet. If it is not, then it's going to create it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and test this all out. Just one thing that I wanted to include in this prompt that I added in here was that I wanted to include this section on just how to handle all of these events. So if you create an event, this is just for solo events. If you want to get events, you can fetch them calendar schedules when requested, just to make sure there's nothing conflicting. And then if you're going to update an event, just make sure to get the events first and get the ID to update that event. And then you can use Google Sheets to create and update rows about event data. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this a shot here. I'm going to test this scenario out from the beginning here, and we're going to see how this works. Hey, can you please create a ski event for me tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Oops. I will take a look here and see how it's working. So it's gone ahead, found the events, created the event. Now it's going back to understand what to do next. And now it should be sending data over to Google Sheets to log that in Google Sheets. Okay, perfect. Awesome. And then it's going to send that response back to us via Telegram. So let's take a look at that. Perfect. So the ski event has been successfully scheduled tomorrow at February 9th. And we'll take a look at the calendar event. So 2 p.m. And I also can see the event here at 2 p.m. I actually just ran a couple tests here just to make sure. I'm going to delete these. And so this looks good, right? Everything is acting according to plan here. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to update this one final time. So I'm going to wait for new data to come through. We're going to go back to Telegram and I'm just going to send another message. Hey, can you actually update that ski event tomorrow to 11 a.m.? And the data is going to flow through. First, it's going to search, then it's going to update, and now it's going to add it to Google Sheets here. Perfect. Then it's going to send us the response back via Telegram. Perfect. So the ski event has been successfully updated to 11 a.m. tomorrow. We can take a look at the Google spreadsheet now. It's at 11, and this has been updated to 11 o'clock as well. And so that's essentially how you can use AI agents in n8n. Super powerful stuff. This is just scratching the surface of what they can do. And I'm going to be building out many more videos going over exactly how you can build these systems out and implement it into your business to see really amazing returns. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found value in this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. Again, the blueprints are going to be free. All you have to do if you want to download them is come into n8n, hit these three dots up here, and then import from file, and then you are good to go. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks and bye-bye.